So, a very good evening to all of you, and a warm welcome to our first talk of the Biodesign Talk series. Last year, in July 2020, we initiated the academic and training programs in medical technologies, jointly offered by IIT Jodhpur and AIIMS Jodhpur. The programs in master's, dual degree, and PhD aim to provide immersive training, foster innovation, and enable entrepreneurship. These programs have the philosophy of biodesign at their core. We foresee that our trainees will be future leaders in medtech, as is the need of the hour of Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India medical technologies. Through this program, doctors and engineers are co-mentored by a team of faculty colleagues at IIT Jodhpur and AIIMS Jodhpur, as well as entrepreneurs and industry leaders. We aim to create an ecosystem for nurturing multidisciplinary deep tech entrepreneurship in the area of healthcare. The Biodesign Talk series has been initiated to bring together our student and colleagues with experts in the government and private sectors and innovators to discuss their entrepreneurial journey as well as understand the process of biodesign. Before I begin, I would like to thank Satya Chaudhary at the Office of the PSA who has helped us ideate the talk series and connected us with stellar speakers. I would also like to thank colleagues at the Jodhpur City Knowledge Innovation Cluster, as well as IIT Jodhpur and AIIMS Jodhpur. Let me now welcome our director, Professor Santanu Chaudhary, to share some opening remarks.
Thank you, Shushmita. Thank you, Satya and Aisha, for joining this webinar. In fact, I'm again thank Satya for agreeing to deliver the first webinar in this series. In fact, as Shushmita stated, that we started this program in medical technologies jointly with AIIMS Jodhpur with an inherent component of innovation. In fact, academic programs really are not built around innovation. And this program, we actually consciously made an exception to make it innovation oriented. We believe, and we have tried to reflect that in our curriculum design and other opportunities for different programs in the institute, that invention, innovation, the circular system, the circular economic system that it represents, that invention is generation of knowledge. And if you look at that, funding goes into invention to generate knowledge. And knowledge goes into innovation to generate back funding. And that makes the whole research and knowledge generation ecosystem self-sustainable. In fact, we strongly believe in this philosophy. And based on that, we have made even our undergraduate program built in opportunities for entrepreneurship and startups. And even in our PhD, we have made a provision that they can, after three years or 3.5 years, they can switch to a pre-incubation work for translating the research work with a potential product. And we shall support that. And the translational work also can form of the PhD thesis. And the other opportunity is somebody is continuing for PhD. After submission of the thesis, they will be supported for at least 1 year for pre-incubation if they want to try out their innovation, their invention into innovation. So actually, we are looking forward to this MMT program to actually have a number of these new generation innovators, startups coming in. And startups really represent this kind of zone, which we say that from TRL 3 to move to TRL 8, 9 and cross the valley of death. And to enable them to cross the valley of death, they need a uh, different set of knowledge, different set of trainings, different set of skills, which a typical academic program doesn't provide. And therefore, an innovation-oriented program requires this kind of a closer relationship with the innovators and startups and enterprises who have gone through this whole exercise and the process so that they can learn the techniques and tricks from practitioners. I think this webinar series in biodesign will motivate our faculty and students to actually move along the pathway of innovation and learn the tricks of innovation. And really, IIT Jodhpur will see a plethora of startups and create that ecosystem of startups in the area of medical technology. In fact, in this context, I want to make another communicate another information. In fact, Rajasthan government has decided to set up a medtech park in Boronara, which is in Jodhpur, and formally it's getting inaugurated on 15th of August this year. That is what is announced. And what we hope is that these small startups which will come out of these innovation exercise that we are doing between IIT Jodhpur and AIIMS Jodhpur, they will actually graduate to MSMEs and move to this medtech park which Rajasthan government is setting up. So with this context, I wish this biodesign series will be really successful and will play a key role in motivating and inspiring our students and faculty. Thank you, Shushma.
Thank you, sir. So I'm delighted to introduce the speaker for today, Dr. Satya Prakash Dash. Dr. Dash is an innovation ecosystem designer, technology strategy, policy and implementation expert, and he has contributed immensely to the growth of the Indian biotech and medtech innovation landscape by designing, implementing, and driving 15 national programs as the founding head strategy at BIRAC, the nodal biotech innovation agency in India, where he conceptualized, designed, and implemented 17 national programs and international partnerships. These have included the Biotechnology Innovation Grant, or BIG, which is India's largest biotech medtech program, the Social Innovation Immersion Program, biotech incubators under BioNest, BIRAC Seed, and ACE Startup Funds, BIRAC regional centers, and partnerships. Cumulatively, these programs have funded and supported more than 1,500 startups and 60 incubators. He was the director of global innovations at PATH, where he built a healthcare innovation acceleration platform for clinical validation and adoption for deep tech startups. He was also the chief operating officer of ABLE and consultant to Longitude Prize, Nesta UK, and IIM Bangalore. Currently, he's a member of the board of NCL Venture Center Pune, India's largest science and technology innovation incubator. He's also advisor to Mandarin Technologies, Cytal, Cygenica, Nerd Tools, amongst others. He holds triple masters from University of Cambridge, United Kingdom, University of Leicester, UK, and Sambalpur University, Odisha, India, and a PhD from UEA, Norwich, UK. He's a Chevening Scholar and US IVLP recipient. He currently lives in Berlin and advises several startups. His interests include ecosystem and organization design, entrepreneurship, technology, and society. Welcome, Dr. Dash.
Thank you, Chaudhary and Nita, and Aisha as well. I think it's great to see another of director to, go forward and build this whole ecosystem of medtech, and it is fabulous that the course design has been changed, is evolving, and the state government is interested as well. And I must thank, I think, Aisha first, because she introduced me to Sushmita. And again, Sushmita, you've been very warm, over the last few weeks, of welcoming me into your ecosystem that you, along with your colleagues and students, and under the leadership of Professor Chaudhary, you are building. I think finally it's all about people. And in the next maybe 45 minutes, I will share some journeys, some opinions, and I'm really underlining the word opinions here, because there are laws of thermodynamics, and then there are opinions, right? So, and increasingly, as I look back into what has happened in the last 15 years in the Indian ecosystem, I think it is all about leadership, change at really the granular levels of society, and then going upward. So it can be both change driven from the top, as well as change driven from grounds up, and that's where I think a really interesting thing starts happening. I must also say that I've gone through many failures in my life, including dropping my +2 exam in 1991. And I was considered, I didn't know what I would do, and I'm a son of a professor. So you can imagine growing up in an academia, what it must have meant at that time to drop your CBSE +2 board. But now I'm so happy to see that, at least those exams do carry value, of course, but they shouldn't be a label for success later in life or not. Right? And so these are my early reflections. I have a presentation, thanks to PowerPoint, somehow the whole humanity now concentrates its, actual thinking through slides. I hope we can find a better tool than this, but so be it that we have the PowerPoint. But before I, again, begin, I think I was checking IIT Jodhpur website, and it was so fantastic to see the IIT Jodhpur Challenges program that you run on the website. And I looked into some of the questions of the challenges, and these may to the rest of the world seem simple steps, but these are amazing steps, and I must congratulate all of you for what I saw, at least remotely, from when I was surfing the website. So thank you again. Let me share a quick the slide deck. Where is it? Yeah, it's this one, and it's that one. Can you see my slides? Don't worry, I'll stick to my time.
Yes, we can. We can see your slides.
I was making the slides up till even now when when Professor was speaking, I was making it. Okay, there you go. All right. You can imagine from the background of the slide that what it means, right? Coding of thoughts didn't just happen now. As long as language existed, we have coded. Right? So when I tell my 8-year or soon to be 8-year-old daughter what is coding, I say that your ability to speak, Hindi or German or English is in some way you're already coding your thoughts and telling me. Right? So there's something out there that you need to learn. I come from a tiny place, so I've never been to Jodhpur, but we are outcomes of our parents' decisions, as is my daughter. My father finished his PhD in ecology in Calgary, Canada, and decided to park himself in Sambalpur in early 1970s. It was the university that was being built. Hirakud Dam was next door. Visvesvaraya had come, and the temples of modern India were being built at that time. So engineering college came up next to the dam as well. UCE Burla, it is called. Now I think it's a different name. So that's where I grew up. So I miss campus life. I think one thing I wanted to convey to our students here is, which you know already, that there's nothing more energizing, wonderful than being in a campus. And I envy you all because of that, having lived the first 23 years of my life in a campus like this. And then I won't spend, but it was an exhilarating last 10, 15 years of designing all these programs and implementing it. And finally, I think it's the team that was with me that helped me, and as well as the political will to do these things, starting from big to equity programs to BioNest, all of that. It was just time for really a lot of thinking, a lot of new ideas floating around. And in a sense, all of this wouldn't also have happened because, I forgot to say this. This is my naman to all teachers here. I think without them, and I say this when I reflect back again to my 25, 30 years of journey, that without them, I think nothing is possible. So Sushmita and Professor Chaudhary, and I think I just saw Professor Ghosh may have joined as the Dean of R&D at IIT Jodhpur, and others whom I do not know yet, but I hopefully know. I think you are doing an amazing work, and thank you so much. From the deepest bottom of my heart. These are some of the people I've really gained over the last few years. I've been blessed to have worked with them, spoken to them, bothered them, and learned a lot of them. So, starting from Dr. Bhan, unfortunately passed away, is really an amazing person. I'm not going to go spend, on each of them, but this is just acknowledging in all of them who have played a role in shaping me, and the new people come who also start shaping you. So it's as if it's not a gate that has closed, right? And shaping happens even late into your life. So even if I'm a midlifer now, shaping does happen. I want to go quickly. I was thinking what to say. I think Biodesign program, Aisha is there, Susmita is there, other faculty must be there. So I'm not going to spend time on design. I think they are more experts, and they will bring more experts on that. I thought I'll just give opinions a little bit about what's happening, what we sense together. You now know I belong to Sambalpur, even though my father is from Puri. So I can try to imagine what it must be in Jodhpur, even though the context would be perhaps different, right? One thing I wanted to understand and let my, our audience here, students, faculty, everyone, and I must tell you this is an old slide, so sorry for that, but I think we all navigate in optimizing, haziness and try to find clarity. And then we realize that actually clarity only comes in hindsight, right? But it is our propensity to take action while there is no clarity. It defines and shapes our immediate environment. And this goes to show, for example, what Professor Chaudhary must be going through. How do you build the institution? How to take it forward? Calls from Delhi, everywhere else, and then you still navigate in that. That must be going through the faculty like Susmita and others, right? And in that, when you look back in 5 years' time, you then say, "Oh wow, it has really happened." And in that sense, BIDAC to me was the first government startup that I was part of, and it was a really enjoyable experience. The other thing I wanted to convey to my young friends, and every time I say this, I think it also reinforces in me that we always think linearly. I'll do undergrad, and then maybe I'll go into consulting, or maybe I'll do an MTech, a PhD, and then I will do something else, right? But all of us, including Aisha, Sushmita, and Professor Chaudhary, and me, and others, we are all being nudged by forces that we fail to have a perception of, but they are nudging us in directions that perhaps will define our future later in life. So we must be open to, at any given moment, there are multiple futures in front of us, right? And maybe the most enjoyable rides are when when you ride two futures at the same time. And that is what is happening with, say, AIMS, Jodhpur, and IIT, and others coming together. You are really defining multiple futures for people who come in touch with you. And that is true for students too. So, friends, by students especially, please be open to new forces and nudges that will define your life in the next 15, 20 years, right? It's not a linear game. Nothing is a linear game. You understand about not. I'll skip this, but this morning I was trying to see, and this is a Natural Edge project as an Australian-based think tank. And you know what we're going through, right? From steam power 150, 200 years back to what we are doing now in terms of cyber attacks that is spreading all across the world, including pandemics, right? So technology is really changing fast. You can Google this and you can find that. So I won't spend time. But just also wanted to give you a quick. I was in Seattle a couple of years back, and there is a Amazon, which is everywhere, obviously, and there this touchless. Nobody is manning this shop called Amazon Go is there. You just go in, everything comes into you, right? From facial recognition to digital pay to location of your haldi, atta, and all the groceries that you want to, and then you don't have to pay it, right? You just walk out because it will immediately charge from your phone or from using your facial network, right? But on the left corner bottom, I wanted to show you there is an inquiry in 1948 in New York about where can I all get available statistics on volume of business money involved in the sale of cadavers, right? So you go to the library or librarian or the city library and you ask this question and then you get the information. And now obviously all you need to do is to put these words in a very nice Google search, Boolean results will come up. This is what has happened in 50 years. Okay. Again, and just what I'm saying, we all are going through. I'm just reminding you in a sense that there is a lot of data coming. Each of us, WebEx knows from which geographical location we have joined in, right? At what time. All this is logged in, right? So there's so much of data, and there's volume. There is it's the fast data. There is velocity. There's multiple kind of data. Yeah, I think maybe they can even know what kind of tabs you are logging in from, who is the maker of that phone, and all of that, right? And so it just mind boggles what our daily lives are throwing up, correct? And therefore you say, okay, there's a lot of data, and is it happening right now? And I was reading a book by Nate Silver, and he's an amazing person who maps futures. And the book is called The Signal and the Noise. And if you look at it, if you look at when books got printed, you see how exponentially the number of books got printed, right? It almost matches maybe the data that we are throwing up now. So when Gutenberg, somewhere here in Germany where I live now, started all of this is who he started coding. So the take-home message is we've been at it for many hundred years now, right? So technology keeps evolving. We are in the present context thinking, oh wow, the volume has definitely increased, the interconnectedness increased, but we've been at it as a humanity for the last many hundred years, right? This again quickly. So if all of this is happening, what really is driving all of that? Can we see some And you can see your aims and mechanical engineers and electronic engineers and social scientists and all coming together. So there is something, if I was reading a RAND report and something on omnidisciplinarity, right? So this is about everything now. And as we mentioned, the velocity, speed, integration is happening in real time. All that as we speak, and there are countries like us who are living almost in in 2 centuries, right? So, and that is the incredible amount of diversity that our country presents to all of us. Now, if that is the case, right, we're sending missions to Moon and Mars, but we can't fix a pothole next to our front gate of our institutions or our homes, right? So what is happening? I thought I'll, kind of also give you flavors. I wonder whether you know these two amazing scientists in the Bay Area. One is a scientist, one is a banker. And one you can tell from the hairstyle who is a scientist here, I think. And when they met, they started, right? Similarly, two chemists met in Cambridge, and then this started, right? And you can see what has happened to those technologies as we speak today. And again, I mean, we can spend hours talking about what happened, how did these technologies come out, who helped them, who shaped them, and things like that. But be aware that there is a myth of a single inventor or myth of a single entrepreneur. There is a whole network of people who come around when technologies like cutting edge technologies like these are built. This morning I wanted to read this. I didn't have time much. I just glanced through it, but I encourage all of you to see. We've been talking about RT-PCR, perhaps in the, if you look at the kind of, if you build a word cloud of the last 1 year, RT-PCR will probably come in the top 10, right? Variants is another one. How many of us actually know how it evolved? What happened? So read this very nice article. It's a bit dated, maybe 2013, by Henry Ehrlich, about development and evolution of PCR. And then you can see what has happened to us in, starting from Taq polymerase to, amplification and things like that. So, and again, this is not something unique site to all of you. Maker spaces have just expanded everywhere, right? So you can, and what is that going to do to our supply chains and all of that as engineers, as clinicians? The quality of such things, how do we make sure that they are robust, they're fit for function? All of that will have to be addressed, right? And again, this you all know. So we talk about amazing technologies, but still we are going through a pandemic, right? There is infectious diseases burden, there is a chronic disease burden, there's food security, we have people below poverty line, we have to feed the population. We say green tech, but it also depends on mining of rare earths, right? So we can't, it's a conundrum, right? How do we solve all the problems that sometimes I believe is caused by us only, the anthropological activities that we do. But then we go back to the same technologies to solve the problems that we create for ourselves, right? But this is how it is. Again, this itself will take an hour to discuss. I just wanted to leave these thoughts with my friends, right? So, in the last 50, 70 years, the challenge is how do you build? There's no secret sauce to building an ecosystem. I'm pretty sure Susmita and Professor Chaudhary and your colleagues in Jodhpur will say. But I think when Professor Chaudhary began his, opening remarks, I think this is what he was saying. They were pushing the imagination and experimentation in either the local, regional, and the national environment. How do you then grow and nurture a network of interconnected elements that, again, what Aisha is driving. And then how do you foster growth and scale, right? Have we done all of this in biotech, medtech? The answer is no. Have we done it in automotive? The answer is perhaps yes. In places like Pune or Chennai and things like that. Can we leverage automotive infrastructure for what we are trying to do? The answer is yes. That would be the network that we want to create, right? And that was exactly the conundrum that we were solving in BIRAC initially. We said, okay, how do you build these programs that look at experimentation, which is ideation, your social innovation immersion programs, your BIG programs, validation scale, and commercialization. And we'll come back to this slide again. But again, in a different context. But what I wanted to convey is that there is perhaps now quite a bit of a support that the ecosystem, can provide. And this is what has happened. I'm going to focus on a few big stories quickly. I'll go through. And so when we started that, and it's just big 19 now, I think, we had few people. I'll show you one. Yeah, this picture. I'm going to tell a story, and some others as well. This is Pandorum. They're in tissue engineering. There is an aerospace engineer from IISc who met a structural physicist from IISc. They were PhD students. They came for business plan competition. They published in fantastic places. The structural physicist actually went on to be at MBEL as an iPod fellow. And then they started this almost 10 years back. And they dug at it, and they're now at almost validation stages. And this is the cutting edge technology of using exosomes and priming them, and then and putting cargoes in the vesicles, and then hoping that they will home into the targeted tissues, right? And this is how they started. Like here is Tuhin. This is Tuhin, and this is Arun on the right. And I think Tuhin, I can see here. Yeah, this is Arun, and this is Tuhin. This is me. And this was the business plan competition we ran in 2010, and they won this. And they have now, this is the email they sent to me. And then, we had to go to meet Dr. Bhan, and we said, what next? And then that's how we created BIG. And this is the team that they have now. Actually, this is a dated picture. They have now 30-member team. They are also in the US. They are doing clinical partnerships and in animal studies, and all of that just started from initial experimentation and imagination. Mainak Chakrabarti, who is this one, again, he is an NIT Calicut product. Wanted to, go into entrepreneurship, built a company called GPS Renewables, has built 100 or 150 biogas plants across the world, okay, including, doing R&D, having microbiologists in the team, and things like that. As we speak, they have taken on board the whole solid waste management of Indore. They raised capital. And these are the stories. They were exactly students like you 5, 7, 10 years back. This is another company that I advise, again, big grantee. Nusrat Sangamitra, she has discovered non-toxic protein fragment that we will use at platform technology that can penetrate different cell membranes, right? And then all of a sudden we say, oh, okay, how can we use that? Can we tag some cargoes with it? Can we take it inside the cell? Can we actually take CRISPR-Cas and show that there is a higher efficiency of editing that we can do? The answer is yes. They are still in early stages. Raised around $1.5 million dollars just last 10 days back, June 25th. She has a lab in Pune, in Venture Center. She has a lab in Ireland, and she's managing all of this, right? And she's a PhD from Indian Institute of Science. and in chemistry or organic chemistry, I think, and then transitioned into all of cutting edge research, cutting edge technology, but product in the mind. 3D printers being used by clinicians. Again, you can Google this, Osteo 3D, the founder himself there, and the AIMS Delhi, I think, used some of his products. And this is all happening right as we speak, right? Quick picture. Is these two engineers, Anirudh and Ashish, left their jobs in Ford in Detroit for 10 years, came back to India, built a hand crank biphasic defibrillator, now being used. So it's hand cranked, by the way. There's no battery even. Okay, it's got all ISO standards. Is being used now in 200 hospitals. In COVID times, the demand has increased. Unfortunately, as you know, COVID causes cardiac problems leading to arrest. So their product has also moved. Veena, for example, here has a smart scope that is linked to the cloud, can detect cervical cancer. And again, it takes society into societal factors during design. And here is one about imaging, digital pathology, which is Perible Health, looking at lungs and then seeing from images whether they can predict lung cancer or not. They are also Bangalore-based. This is Doji, Mudit Dandavate, IIT Bombay product, along with his co-founder, remote health monitoring. This is, again, an amazing story in the last 1.5 years. They are selling in the market, getting market traction. So if you were to read a little bit, I wrote a report 2015. It must be in BIRAG website in 2015. And I remember these two quotes. Big is like the origin of Ganges, and Professor Vijayaraghavan said, big is a big experiment. Many of us ideas might fail to have flourished, but this is an experiment that we cannot afford not to conduct, right? So as a country, we need to take bets, we need to take risks, and let many such things be done, even in all across India, whether it's Jodhpur or Aurangabad or Nagaland or Odisha or Coimbatore, right? So then I thought, okay, so these are the stories. I have another 10 minutes and I'll finish. And then some of the stuff that I'm going to say now, most of you again know. I just wanted to remind you, what happened. One thing is to understand that, as I said at the start, the technical aspects of the product development will definitely follow laws of physics and laws of the universe. But the other parts of business, it does not follow laws of thermodynamics. So, management consultant may use terms and buzzwords that remind you that they are laws, but actually they are, there is no laws of thermodynamics. That means it is more complex. Again, it's as to the non-linear functions of development of the product. And I wanted to remind you that. So it's about network and people and conversations and getting the insight and understanding customers. I think Aisha can talk about it when she built her product through Windmill Technologies. I didn't mention Windmill there, but when Aisha tells her story, I think you can hear from her. This I stole from Professor Ravi, and who's a good friend in IIT Bombay, and I like it. And this is true. Each time you jump over this hurdle, you go, can I take a break? The answer is no. You still have to go through different kind of valleys to finally reach the product, and then again the product may not work. So may not be adopted, and there's a regulation, there is government procurement system. So all of that you have to deal with, right? So it is no easy task being an entrepreneur. It is not a fabled life, it definitely from the entrepreneurs that I have interacted. The other thing is when I speak, people say, I have a product, and then you realize that actually what they're saying is that they're clunky bits, which is okay, fine, but it's a prototype. I think Professor again mentioned that about technology readiness levels. But I think we fall into a myth if we say that my product is ready when it is at prototype levels, right? And this is, again, when do you lock your design? What kind of insights you want to get from customers? The robustness of your product, all of that is you have to navigate to finally reach there. And in that, I wanted to show you a wonderful picture of another friend of mine, Chandy Nair. You should look him up. Runs the company Big Tech Molbio, and they are everywhere now in India. You know, they do a lot of diagnostic tests of TB and even in COVID now. And look at how the prototype evolved, 10, 15 years back to this is a true prep auto. And this is their manufacturing assembly line, and this is being used right in different environmental conditions, whether it is 45 degrees of Sambalpur or Jodhpur, or 2 degrees at Himachal, right? All those things are that you have to take into account, but those things have started to happen in India. And this is a wonderful story of what perseverance, persistence, and resilience can do. I have deep respect for the team. They were at it from 2002, and it's an 18 years journey that they've had. Right. So the question is, how is this ecosystem looking now, right? And getting far from India, of course, it gives you a little bit of a space to look at it, what is happening. This amazing amount of networks that have developed, they're developing, driven by many people, locally, regionally, and nationally. So, whether you wanted an industrial design, or whether you want to test your product, or you want to understand the, freedom to operate in the patent, or to do market analysis, regulation, funding, knowledge networks, all of that is there. And, that is really a crowded slide, very nicely done by Chandy himself. So if you have the question, who will fund me? There are agencies, answers to that. Hopefully the gestation period of you saying, they saying yes, and you receiving that money should be, less, not like, many months or 12 months or 18 months you are waiting while your technology is fossilizing on the desk. But I hope those efficiencies we need to bring, and hopefully, that's happening as well. How will I build it? Of course, not just prototyping, but piloting, and not just makerspace, but people who can actually do things, manufacture for you. Those systems are also taking shape, mostly around South India in Mysore, even in Gurgaon and other places. And of course, validation and regulatory. So this is last one or two more slides. So maybe, I think this is a slide better. Yeah. So if you ask a counterfactual question of all of these, that if you are a student and you want to build a startup, if you were a PhD or a postdoc or a faculty with an idea that you want to take it forward, or you work in industry and you're bored with the industry, you want to jump out and do something exciting, or you want to partner. If you had asked this question in 1970, the answer was, of course, you could do that, right? But perhaps now, and because of the time in the last 30 years, and especially in the last 15, 20 years in the biotech, medtech, these things, now there is a support network, a support system that is evolving, but that is already there, right? And these are the places. So not only it is, the DBT, BIRAC, or DST, but there's Millennium Alliance, there is Gates Foundation, there is Indo-US Technology Fund. There are 60 incubators. There are now some good amount of private funding coming, not to the extent that they will fund your e-commerce. I used to say that if you wanted to sell a red tie on the net, that's your unique value proposition, that I want to sell only red tie on the net. You'll probably get many $1 million investment, right? But if you were to say, hey, you know what, I'm building something that can look at gas pipelines or that can cure this disease, you'll be struggling. And that is true even now, struggling to raise private fund. So the risk appetite of private funders will hopefully improve. I think these examples that I showed will kind of show them that yes, there is something to be had by investing, and this is going to take into the whole societal view, right? So as you are thinking of what to do, the idea is, can, like from a typically Michaelis-Menten reaction, can you bring down the threshold to reach to go over and become a product, right? I mean, that's also happens in each cell and whatever we do with our industrial production as well. And so what we need to do, I mean, one thing I just wanted to say, while you're designing, have global excellence as the benchmark, right? I don't believe in Jugaad. Jugaad is good. It is amazing to see interesting ideas coming through, but it does indicate that there is an underlying systemic failure, right? And it's an unfortunate systemic failure, to be very honest. It's not a rocket science systemic failure. So I think we should build everything with an idea of excellence, and then work backwards from there. This is my last slide. So okay, but you know what? I don't want to be a startup. Oh, fine, but I think the person who built Delhi Metro and Cochin Railway, Bombay to Cochin Western Ghat Railway line. He's entrepreneurial, right? So you've got to be entrepreneurial in your mindset, whether you are in academia, industry, philanthropy, startups. I worked with all government. I worked with all of these groups, and I think those people who are entrepreneurial have a different DNA, and you can know. When you meet them, right? I mean, there is some vibe that you know. And finally, did I miss the last sentence? Okay, I was typing it this morning. Sorry for that. And you've got to sense what is happening, trajectory. Empathy, compassion, important. You've got to also understand where things are moving, and not just technologies, societies, people, their mindset. And the last thing that I forgot to type, I said it's all about people, and that is true. Before I go, I love startups, their energy. I was talking to Santanu. He's an amazing entrepreneur. He built a sensor remotely that can detect fetal heart movement. And you can see this is being used right in remote areas of India. And they could have gone and done anything anywhere in the world, but they decided to do that. And this is, I think, even you have the coordinates of the place where it is being done. So check him out. My last comment would be that I forgot to, I've been influenced by my father, and he is an ecologist. I loved ecology, but never did it because they never wanted to compete with him. But there's a concept in ecology called ecotone, okay, or liminal space. Ecotone is when two ecosystems come and meet. And it is seen that at the place where the two ecosystems meet, you can think about a mangrove or a forest or a river. When those two ecosystems meet, the diversity in the place where it's neither one ecosystem nor the other, the liminal place, as it's called, is higher, right? And this is exactly what we are doing by bringing in AIMS, Jodhpur and IIT Jodhpur. I will encourage to go and even bring in, sociologists and political scientists in Rajasthan and wider field, and build those systems. And the last comment was, after my PhD, I wanted to understand manufacturing and policy and all of that. So this was 2005-06. So I applied to, be part of Institute for Manufacturing, IFM, in Cambridge University. Oh, what a lovely place that is. And that opened my eyes to what manufacturing is. And in that, we had everybody. Yeah, we had robotics engineer, we had sociologists, political scientists, policy makers, business people, management, everything thought through, discussed openly in cafeterias. I think those are ecotones. And I'm so happy that leadership here is doing that. And I wish all of you all the best in your programs. And remember, as the Eastern sage has said, it's not how fast you go. It's going in the direction that you want to go, and also having the freedom to change your direction as well. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Chaudhary. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you, Sushmita, and faculty and students. And of course, I'm open for questions now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dash, for such an insightful talk and sharing these inspiring stories.
No, it's all about journeys, I think. And, I didn't get to say hello to your students much, but hopefully someday. And when we track not only the experiments that you and your colleagues are doing, when you look back 10 years, the initial hesitation and now in 10 years time.
Yes, it was a great talk, and I think also inspiring. And
very inspiring.
I think students should ask questions, students, faculty, and others.
So let's open the floor for questions.
Good evening, sir. Sir, since your professional trajectory has been completely unconventional, like...
if I may, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Sharmishta Majumdar. I'm a dual degree student in the medical technology program. And I'm not an engineer, I'm a doctor. And the question the reason I'm asking the question, because this transition is also new for me. And I was going through Sir's profile, and Sir has... Hello, am I audible? Yes, Sir has also got a very unconventional professional trajectory. So I wanted to ask him, like, what were the biggest hurdles that he had to face while transitioning?
My own hesitation was first. There's always a fear factor. But if you want to lead a gypsy life, you have to love change, right? So, and it's not, when I say gypsy life, I don't mean that you go around different places, which I've also done, around 15, 16 geographical places in the last 24 years. But you even if you park yourself in a big multinational, for example, or being an entrepreneur, is asking what is next, the question, right? Where how do you sense things? So for me, the difficulty has been ability to sense, and I think I'm getting, it's a continuous affair that you have to talk to a lot of people. Imposter syndrome is one thing. I will be honest, right? You think that, oh my God, I really don't belong here, right? I knew what is Okazaki fragments. I have no clue what is industrial design, right? What is form factor? What is human-centered design? All of those, right? But I think that you have to overcome, and it's like stage fright, right? Every time, even now, you have a little bit of moisture in the palm, thinking that, oh my God, I'm going to talk to 50, 20, 100 people. I don't know how will it go. So overcoming that fear, imposter syndrome, and really anchoring to people who mean well with you, right? Do not underestimate the mental toll it might take on people who change directions, right? So you will have to have, you have to surround yourself with people who have compassion in their hearts. I know this may sound very esoteric, but actually it is true, Sir Mister.
Thank you, sir. Sir, how did you understand? Like, what would you suggest to new students who are just walking this path regarding the networking?
Yeah, so networking has both positive and negative connotations. Okay. So the negative part is which comes through. You meet somebody and they want to exchange business cards, or they want to know you. You've got to genuinely be interested in other people, right? You have to be genuinely interested in from where they come from. In that sense, for example, I'll give two examples. These two boys, Saugat and Subham. Subham is a dual degree, MTech from IIT Kharagpur. He was in my team. He reported to me, but I learned a lot from him. Okay, to the extent that I call him up, saying that, "Ab batao, kya karenge? What can we do?" Because he's an aerospace engineer. I pulled him to look into health tech, and now he's doing AI in Hyderabad. Saugat is similar. He's a material science engineer and things like that. So to your question, it's sorry, can you repeat the last part of your question? What was that?
Yes, sir. Like first, very like students who have just started walking this path. Like,
so, I'll take Subham's example, right? I mean, he's dual degree IIT Kharagpur, one of the most brilliant young person I've met in my life. Okay. And when I met him, when I was hiring, I said, okay, you give me 2 years of your life and time to do something together, a medtech accelerator, and see what happens. After IIT, he spent 4 years in IIT in Kharagpur, looking at aerospace design and other things. He could have gone anywhere in the world, but he did that. Then he came. Then he came to work with me in the team. It was a small team at that time. And now he's in Hyderabad doing AI. And I mean, I'll give you a bias. I wanted him to do grad school, but for young students, I think you've got to follow instincts. There is peer pressure. Think about Subham, right? The peer pressure, I can understand, right? I mean, graduation, McKinsey coming, your core group of industries coming, all of that. I did a career advisory with IIT Delhi once, and these were the questions: how do we go? How do we go, and where do we go, and how do we work? One thing which I learned is if you've been trained to live in a very minimal lifestyle, okay, if you can hang on to that concept, it serves you well in long term, okay. And I've hung on to that concept even until now, okay. I do not live in own house. I never buy houses. I live in rented space. I can move around whenever I want. So you got to optimize the things that are thrown at you. You have an instinct that you want to do something. Maybe you want to go and play with Bitcoin, and go and do it. You should never. Nothing should stop you in experimenting. The earlier you experiment, the better it is.
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your wonderful words.
Good evening, sir. So may I please go ahead?
Introduce yourself.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Kanika Singh Roha. I'm a maxillofacial pathologist by profession and currently in the medical technology department pursuing PhD. Sir, I think you would be an absolutely apt person to answer this question of mine, since you've been to, from one profession to the other. You've got a melange of all of that on your platter. So, sir, my question to you is, all of us have a particular thought, or let us say an idea or a way, and also a way of executing it. But then, again, once we start with something in a particular niche, it often gets under the cover of the existing environment, or let's say existing processes. So how do you preserve that originality of an idea and protect it from getting masked? I hope I've been able to convey what I want to ask.
Yeah, Dr. Kanika, it almost, if you are a clinician, it almost is like your, when you write prescription. So you have to ask me a little with a simple language. So can you repeat it?
Yeah, sure. So for example, suppose I have an idea, let us say I just want to make a particular product. But then, that product, I also have a way how to manufacture it or how to do it. But then there might be an already existing system for, let us just say, of an institute. So my way not necessarily be matching the institutes. I'm definitely experimenting. But then, very organically, we tend to lose that originality and mingle up with the system. And in this whole process, that little spark of innovation often gets lost, sir. So how do you at the same time preserve that innovation and also walk in hand with the existing system?
Okay, I think, this is a question that is in a sense a conundrum. What you are trying to say is you have an idea that you want to develop, take it to to the society as a product, and you want to take it, build it in a way that may not match the idea of building products in the organization that you are. Is that what I'm?
Yes,
correct, right?
almost on the same lines. Yes.
Yeah. So what do you do then, right? See, I know, for example, and I can give you an example. Now, the good thing is about statistics is that you can do statistics with 3 data points, right? So now we have at least with the big and other things that I see that, thousands of case stories that, you can crunch and see what patterns are there. Patterns may be there. I'm not saying there are causalities behind those patterns, but so few things I've seen is some co-founders, when they face this situation, the ability not to rush to a decision. So the ability not to decision is, but you will have to go to the best place where you are going to maximize your product development. Uncertainty, you can reduce that. So it's either time to build and time to market, or cost to build or cost to market, whatever you want to use as a framework. And then you have to sit back and look at these 2 terms, cost to build and cost to market, and see which place makes sense for this, right? And if you can't move, then you have to optimize your given situation. But you are right. I mean, and again, I don't like the word purity, but the purity of the product that you want to, or idea that you want to have, it will bounce through different things, and it will change, right? But most importantly, I haven't said yet, you've got to be very close to your customer, right? In a sense that what they want.
Yes.
Right? Unless that thing is taken care. And you can be, handling amazing technologies, but if it doesn't make business sense, it doesn't make business sense. So British Airways had to stop Concorde. I mean, what an amazing way to fly from London to New York in 4 hours, right? But the market wouldn't sustain it. So I would say go and listen to the market. And market is not a bad word. Think about cost to build and cost to market, or cost to commercialize, and then take your decision after that.
Thank you, sir. So I have another question, if I may. So my question is, sir, I totally agree with this. Yes, we need to be, ready to take up whatever comes our way and just go with the wind very organically and then go ahead. But then, yes, the things are shaped by the choices we make. So what would be that one particular advice that you would give it to your younger self, which you shouldn't have done? Or maybe if you wouldn't have done that, the things would have been better, because it's equally important to know what is not to be done.
I didn't expect this question, but Sushmita, you should have warned me.
I tried.
But yeah, people say there are no regrets, but we are a collection of so many hopes and so many regrets, right? So maybe I should have left Sambalpur not 53, but 16, right? So, but having said that, I began my talk by saying that I'm fortunate to be in a campus for 23 years. So, and in this regard, I'll tell you one thing. I think again I'll draw upon speaking to Subham, and he said he grew up in a quite a big city in Uttar Pradesh, and he said when he was 15 he realized that he wanted to move out of that city, right? And he did when he was 15. And moving and finding your Gibbs-free energy where it is optimal is the best thing, and you should do it. When I say moving, I again don't mean that moving places.
Yes, sir.
Moving about or what you want to do in your life and things like that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Questions from students?
Sir, I hope I'm audible. Myself, Tilak Chakravarti, pursuing Masters in Medical Technology program. Sir, when we start our career as an innovator, is it wise to actually go for the low-hanging fruits where the complexities are a bit less and try to achieve them before going for bigger pursuits and trying to achieve larger things?
Tilak, Chakravarti, this is amazing, great question. Thank you. This needs introspection and reflection. But I showed you examples. Let me just. I just want to base it on my last 1 hour of talk, right? Rather than something that might resonate with you or asking, right? So, okay, these guys, right? So, Tuhin Bhaumik and Arun Chandru, they've been at it for 10 years. Okay. This is a product. So I classify product as, is it first in the country or first in the world, right? First in the country may not be first in the world, right? They are building a product that is first in the world, right? It takes immense amount of energy, frustrations, I've known them since their PhD student days, and now Tuhin is in New York and Arun is in Bangalore, and they've raised like 70 crores to do this. They're building teams in the US. They're having clinical studies done through a CRO. All that is happening. But the choice for them to do either this or or something else, as you say, as low-hanging fruit was in front of them as well. And it is not to say that those who are doing, you have to value judge them. It's about what your instincts are, what kind of product you quickly bring to the market, or you want to wait it, or what. So, for example, I know many people say if you have to do hand sanitizers today, right? Say it's a bad thing. Answer is no. It is needed. Hand sanitizer and eco-friendly hand sanitizer in rural areas of India, we need them, right? If you go after that, that is fine. But then, what we think as low-hanging fruit can also sometimes throw up very interesting things that they may not be that low-hanging that we initially thought to be. But to your question, yes, I think both sets of paradigms are difficult paradigms. You've got to choose what you want to do.
Thank you, sir. And sir, a follow-up question is that in developing healthcare technologies, I feel that the market for a patient-faced any technology is incredibly large in a country like India. But whereas when you look at other technologies, which is helping the doctors or surgeons to perform particular things is a bit less, because inherently we have a very less doctorist to patient ratio in India. So while choosing an opportunity which is going to come to us, whether it's better to go for a patient-based technology or towards an doctor-based improvement technology.
Brilliant question. I think I've seen this again from the cohort of people. So, if you are in dental space, in dental innovation space, or surgical tools, right? There is a word that I think we had a clinician just ask a question, right? So there's a word that we all know. It is standard practice, right? So a lot of clinicians are used to working in a way, the process are set, and you go and then you say that you need to change it. Then there is resistance, obviously, correct? And I guess this is what the question is yours about. So having those voices very early on as part of your team, having people who are key leaders in their field as part of your team, at least having their blessing, having them as ambassadors of your idea, is also going to change the practice is there in our in our clinical setup. So so anything that changes clinical practice is difficult for adoption. I agree, but that being said, there are ways to overcome that hurdle and gain market adoption. I know. I mean, so the simple answer is it is a difficult time, but you've got to not just convince one clinician or one dentist. You have to convince a lot of people. So going to conferences, presenting your idea, getting clinicians on board, getting community workers on board. We can see, even if we have as simple as a jab on the left side, how do you deliver vaccines, having, community workers, Anganwadi, all those voices also needs to be taken on board. That was Tilak, right? So the short answer is difficult, doable. But, you've got to take the advice and take the voices of those people on the ground from day one.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
Questions from faculty members, from students?
I have a question for Dr. Dash. Dr. Dash, I am Sankalp. I am a faculty in the School of Management and Entrepreneurship at IIT Jodhpur. And thank you for this wonderful talk. The very fact that students are asking so many questions kind of confirms that we were all very excited about it. I have one question drawn from what you stated about when you come across an entrepreneur, you get that sense because of that energy or something that you feel around it. That's what I think I heard you saying. And on that, I wanted to understand from your experience, because you would have seen people starting from scratch in their own journeys and then figuring out something and then deciding to go in a particular direction and then succeeding and some failing and so on. So based on that, if we were to bring the nature versus nurture debate in entrepreneur development, what would be your guidance to say people like me who are going to try and build an entrepreneurship ecosystem in and around Jodhpur? So how much as ecosystem developers we can influence, and how much are we say just a net catcher, so to say, of entrepreneurs who are already there, and we just have to catch it. So where do we stand there on this thought?
Sankalp, this is a deep question that again, geographies across the world are, thinking, and you as a management researcher, I'm pretty sure you are also seeing what's happening in the rest of the world. Imagine, I think your question has linkages to the first person who asked the question about hesitation, that entrepreneurial hesitation. Is it there? If we didn't have this ecosystem, wouldn't we have entrepreneurs? The answer is yes, of course. We have entrepreneurs, right? I mean, we have biotech entrepreneurs even in mid-90s. One of my very, very close mentor whom I regard the most in the last many years, like Dr. Bhan and Professor Vijay Chandru himself, right? An engineer, electrical engineer for that BITS Pilani, then MIT. He was an IIC professor. He also started Strand much before all of this was done. Many, many others I know. So only if we could do a control experiment design. But I would rather have the ecosystem rather than not. And my belief is that having the ecosystem, that nurturing part takes care of the nature part, and that hesitation, the threshold of the hesitation comes down, and the societal threshold of the hesitation then comes down very fast, right? And we can see that happening in the last 20 years itself, right? People trying, even walking out of IIT gates, they can go to any place. They're one of the topmost minds of India, that we kind of nest them for 4 or 5 years in your campuses, right? And not just IITs, NITs, Manipal, all of them, right? So it is that threshold of hesitation. If it is lowered, they see that there is an ecosystem to take care. They understand that failure is not a bad thing. They know that, and I tell a lot of these entrepreneurs that let's just think about Santanu himself, right? And so mechanical engineer again, but what if he stops now, right? I mean, I don't know how old is he. I know how old is he, but say anywhere in late 20s and early 30s, right? If he stops now, this 5-7 years of experience that he has gained, is it going to go to waste? The answer is no. If he wants to go and work in a multinational, he can go and do that. I think those kind of messages, if you give, people know that there is a net, there's a societal net, that if they fall off, that net will take care of them, right? And that increases the chances of them diving into this. And therefore, ecosystem is a must. And it's difficult to build ecosystems. And we've been at it for the last 7 decades or the last 8 decades. And and ecosystems also go through cycles. Sometimes it's accelerated, sometimes they go slow. And it is very important that people like faculty and researchers like you contribute to that. I would say that you should be part and parcel of the IIT Jodhpur Biodesign, writing about the journeys that are happening, understanding them. And why do we have to go? And I didn't even mention one person from, right, these all are indigenous last 5, 7, 8 years examples. So simple answer to your question, the biomarker of an entrepreneur, is it there? The answer is yes. Risk takers are always there. The risk takers are in Bombay, for example, playing stock markets, right? So risk taking is not just about entrepreneurship. It is inherent in a lot of people. So how do you channelize some of those risk taking abilities to build products, tangible products, or intangible products like bitcoins, and then so that the whole of society benefits. And my understanding and my opinion, I don't know if I'm correct or not, is that we definitely need a stronger ecosystem so that we can nurture better, more density, more frequent entrepreneurship, and let us in the government, in industry, let us have we say to people, take risk, don't worry about failure. We should also have very compassionate outcome assessments, right? If you were to ask, let's audit big in the last 10 years, what's happened. You can audit, you can have, stringent auditing measures. You can also then say that, what if somebody after big goes and joins, Medtronic or Stryker or anything like that? Has big failed? The answer is no. All of these are collective experiences that these multinationals also need, and they are better organizations because people who got trained through these design programs or big programs or incubation programs enter those worlds as well. So you need to put a bug in big organizations, right? So these are all bugs that we create.
Thank you, Dr. Dash.
Okay, there is radio silence now.
Questions? I'm sure there are many more. I had some on our Excel sheet. If you'd like, I can go ahead and ask those questions. Students
Sure. You all are indulging me, so I'm fine. So thank you for indulging me. So I have time now. I've given it until 6:45, 7. So it's okay. I mean, I know it's a Saturday and it's the evening for you all, so I appreciate that. It's just post lunchtime for me. So it's not problem.
If there are questions from students. Okay.
Because I've been giving opinions, so let me give one opinion without asking, without a question being asked. A lot of people ask, about how do you sense things, and my opinion and my humble request for youngsters is to not to get frustrated, have at least a 15-20 year patient energy. Okay. And if you look at even our own career, you came to Jodhpur 9 years, right?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure the threshold of frustration in the first 2 years was really high, right? So and the same thing. So if you want to dive into anything new, you've got to be patient, and you have to give at least a decade in doing things and loving the monotony of the thing that you are doing. So I was talking to an entrepreneur, and I asked him what he rituals does every day, and he says, well, he has his coffee, and he looks into obviously his office and his company. And the third thing is that he definitely speaks to a couple of customers every day. And it's not a small company, it's not a big company. It's still around maybe 50, 70 people, maybe 100, 200 crores, 300 crores of business. And he said, well, that's how you have to do it. He has to speak with 10, 15 customers every week. so that he knows what is happening here. And that is the kind what I said about sensing, right? And you know, you can do it for a week, but if you are able to do it week on week, that is a measure of loving the monotony of that.
Yeah, I think that is wonderful advice. That is very wonderful. I think I think there's so much that we can learn, especially from the stories that you have talked about, from our own homegrown medtech innovators. Sometimes I think it is easier to relate to stories that are from our own ecosystem because we face similar challenges, similar stories, paths, and so it is more relatable. So again, I would like to thank you so much for sharing your time with us. I'm sure that you have so many advisory roles, but for us as a young group of people just starting out something like this, I think it is something that it is going to be invaluable. And we hope that you can continue to guide us in the future and stay on as a mentor for this young ecosystem. Thank you again for joining us. And also thank you so much to the attendees, my dear students who've asked such wonderful questions. Such interactions are really, really, the only thing that makes them memorable are, the discussions that we have. Thank you again. Thank you, Dr. Dash, Professor Chaudhary, Aisha for joining, and all of my faculty colleagues and students for joining today. Thank you.
Yeah, it's lovely to be part of all of you. And again, thanks Sushmita, your colleagues, Professor Chaudhary, and definitely Aisha for introducing me to all of you. And the students, I'm there all the time, no problem. Yeah, all you need to do is drop me a line and we can.
Thank you, Dr. Das. And we hope to meet you in person in Jodhpur soon in future.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Can
you
we
very
take
much.
it, if you don't mind?
Absolutely. If you could, I think, stop sharing, and then we can ask the attendees to turn on their videos. We are recording this video, so it will be available on the IIT Jodhpur YouTube channel as well.
Aisha, any comments?
Yeah.
I'll just, thanks. I think it was extremely fascinating to hear Satya and to all the wonderful questions also. I'll just summarize by saying that at the end of the day, it's all about picking something with which you can really have a romantic relationship when it comes to work. You should be able.
I think we just lost your voice, Aisha.
Yeah, I lost you.
I'll just turn off my video. Maybe, can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Yes.
For better bandwidth. Yes. I was just saying that I will summarize by saying that at the end of the day, whatever profession you pick up, you have to be able to have a romantic relationship with that. You need to be able to fall in love with it on some days. You need to be able to hate it on some days. Unless you hate it, you will not be motivated to find something new and better also for yourself. So I think, and I'll typically try to summarize it with 4 levels. So whatever you pick up in your profession, it needs to be able to provide some sort of adrenaline rush to you. Then you should be able to build on your strengths in whatever you choose to do at work. And it should also be able to give you some sort of basic money. Like Satya said, you need to have a minimalistic lifestyle and you can then sustain. And of course, it has to be extremely passionate. So whatever you pick, you need to be able to have these things. And I think you will then definitely enjoy doing it for the rest of your life. That's all. Thank you.
And there is, I'm always envious. I think you do universes. I didn't use the word God, but you do amazing work. Make a positive thing in our life. So thank you, Professor. Thank you. Thank you. I think the dean R&D there are Dr. Sankalp and Tilak and others who asked questions, who didn't ask questions. I can see Professor Agarwal as well. I think you all are doing amazing things. Being in a campus, only after you leave the campus, you realize that what a gem of a place the campus is. So, all the best to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
No, I think the director went away. We didn't take it. Did you take a picture?
We have some. We have some. We have some. I'll share them.
All
with
right.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.